Alpha Nerd Entertainment. Valis 3 for the Sega Genesis. This is Yuko. Warrior of Valis. I'ma steal her Valis sword and get the fuck out of here. There's a big evil dude, and I think the only way to defeat him is to use the Valis sword. I'm gone. Dipped. What the hell? Did somebody break into my room? Was that Cham? What the fuck? It's like 4 in the morning. Now I'm running. I don't even have panties on. I'm in my PJs. I can't even slide yet. I can't slide without the Valis sword. So I gotta sprint in the middle of the night. This is bullshit. Cham, what the fuck are you doing? Yuko, I'm so sorry. I thought the only way to defeat this asshole was to get your Valis sword. And you didn't think to ask first? I'ma take her and the Valis sword. Yuko, help me. Well, at least you dropped it. I'm gonna jump off the top of this building now, and you know, if the sword hit the ground first, wouldn't I kind of like die because I wouldn't get the sword because I'm mortal without it? Well, it's a good thing I conveniently fell and got the sword, and now I look all badass, and I'm gonna fly up to the top of these buildings now and take care of some shit. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another No Death Run review. Today, 1991's Valis 3 for the Sega Genesis. A pretty awesome game. A pretty hard one as well. Especially the ice levels. Anyone who plays this game knows what I'm talking about when it comes to those damn ice levels. Ooh, they're brutal. But let's talk about this game. You know, it's story. They care about it. Filled with cutscenes, the whole series for that matter. Plenty of dialogue. In fact, if you want to take the time to watch the intro to this game, there's like 6 or 7 minutes of dialogue and cutscenes that just lead up to the opening, credits of the game. Pretty awesome stuff. Didn't want to include it because I kind of wanted to make it about the playthrough itself. But if you ever get into this game, take the time to watch it. Great dialogue, great cutscene. I love this right here, this Reno neon fluorescent light, on top of the roof of the building. It just kind of resembles Japan with the backdrop looking really good. I love this villain. He is in the first game and he looks badass in his cape with his horns. He's a pretty easy fight. The majority of this game is pretty easy minus the ice levels. So without any further ado, let's just jump into the GamePro magazine review. Graphics, 4 out of 5. Sound, 4 out of 5. Controls, 3.5 out of 5. Fun factor, 4 out of 5. The Dark World is going to be absorbed into nether space. This is true. Is this why you wanted my Valis sword? Yeah, obviously. Yes, I needed the Valis sword. Duh. Sorry. Time to slide our way through a classic forest level. Kind of like the forest in, well, pretty much every game. Who doesn't love a good forest scene? Okay, so I briefly spoke about the GamePro magazine review. I gave it pretty much 4s across the board. I said graphics were a 4 out of 5 for 1991. I think that's a pretty fair rating. They're not outstanding graphics. They are not bad graphics either. The sprites look good. The animation is pretty good as well. The cutscenes look phenomenal, so I think that definitely helps its graphics department. But also, not bad graphics in any way, shape, or form. Let's jump into the sound. The music is good, not as demonic and awesome and as symphonic as the first game, in my personal opinion. But the sound, effects, and music are also pretty good, and I think a 4 out of 5 is also a pretty fair score. Its controls, however, obviously I have got through this game without dying, and anyone who's played the ice levels know exactly how hard the ice level is. And even the last level is not exactly easy either, but the ice levels are brutal. So obviously I took the time to master the controls and understand them, so I could personally give them a 5 out of 5, but I know they are stiff and clunky and a little bit unresponsive, and 3.5 I think is being generous. 3 would probably be more acceptable, but we'll stick with the 3. Now, as far as the fun factor goes, it's a Valis game. Now, those stiff, clunky controls could impair your view on the fun factor of the game, but if you take the time, as you should with any video game, to adapt to the controls, you'll discover they aren't all that bad, but I cannot give them better than a 3.5. But the fun factor, on the other hand, I think I can stick with a 4. 4 is very fair. It's not outstandingly fun. There are more fun games. Sonic 2 comes to mind. Hell, Batman for Sega Genesis comes to mind for fun, easy games. But this one definitely is a fun game also, so I think a 4 is fitting. Love the graphics in this level. Love the fact that you go on the ferry ride. I don't think that's the ferryman from like Castlevania or other lore. But great looking level, and I definitely choose to use Cham in this particular part. In fact, I find Cham is significantly better with her Castlevania style whip. Made my playthrough particularly easy in comparison to using Yuko. Though Yuko is required for the end boss fight. And I love Yuko. I think she's prettier of the two if I were to rate cartoon attractiveness of these characters. But Cham is beast mode with her whip.
Oh, didn't mean to do that. A waste of mana.
So fun, upbeat boss music. This boss is pretty easy, but one thing I consider so much easier about Cham is her fire rate, if you will. The speed in which she whips her whip, to me, is significantly faster than the other two girls you can play with. At this time, I can only use Yuko or Cham, but I just think Cham is the way to go in my opinion, hands down. The speed of that whip gets the job done. You know, when I think about things to talk about in Valis, or in this case Valis 3, as they are very similar and play very similar, Valis 3 definitely improves in a lot of areas, but overall the gameplay is very similar to the first for the Genesis, so there isn't much improvements done. It's a little bit fine-tuned and definitely a little bit more playable compared to the first. Definitely harder, this game, significantly harder, but you know, its controls definitely are one of the things I could find people would be off-put by the series. But I just think any game, you got to take that time to adapt to its controls. Every game feels different, every game plays different. Some try to copy one another and play like other games, but Valis is a very original in itself, that it doesn't really feel or play like anything I've ever played. The game itself, or series I should say, has a real feel to it. There's just something, in my opinion, very likable about the series, likable about the characters, the dialogue I appreciate, the cutscenes I appreciate, though obviously most of my playthroughs I'll just, you know, especially when going for an NDR, I'm just going to click through it all and not take the time to read it. But when I did take the time to read it, it does help me appreciate the game that much more.
Oh, you fucking queer.
I didn't just call a video game sprite queer. Not my finest moment.
What a bitch. Oh, beautiful. Didn't know about that. Pays off to look around.
That's a little better, Steve. Call the computer sprite a bitch. Now, being a retro guy and very much a 90s guy, I must apologize, as there's still one of those things I'm trying to work on, which is that kind of old school 90s slang where you call everything that sucks gay or queer or, you know, don't be a homo. To any of my gay supporters, please don't take offense to that. As old school as I am with my movies and video games, sometimes my slang is as well, and I can honestly say I am attempting to correct that, which is why I gotta applaud myself for at least calling the computer sprite a bitch instead of a queer, though I probably shouldn't call it a bitch either. Does any of this really matter? Fuck that sprite right there. It's a queer bitch. So as I whipped whatever that girl was imprisoned in, I released her, which is your third playable character. And honestly, only in this section where it forces me to use her do I use her for the no death run. She's actually quite a good character, and especially good when upgraded, but I don't know. Cham with the whip is just hands down the best in my opinion, just due to the speed in which you can attack. Being an aggressive player, I just like the ability to kind of go shot for shot sometimes, and when I can give 2 or 3 to the computer's 1, I don't necessarily have to be good with a character that's that quick. But I use her here for this mandatory boss fight and do pretty good, all things considered. A little sloppy with my jumps.
Ah, fast. Should have been faster.
So as you can see, when you sit down and play this game and take the time to read all the little dialogue that was even just there between the 3 girls, and the dialogue between the cutscenes, not just during and after the game, but before the game, it really does add to this game. Now here's a section that's really annoying. Now, I figured out by using Cham, yet again, because of her speed, with in fact she can whip, she is the character to use in this particular spot. I didn't even know what the hell I was doing the first couple times I played this game, how I eventually succeeded. I heard Kamui Plays, who's a huge fan of the franchise and a huge fan of Valis 3, particularly on TurboGrafx 16, where the game is a bit longer and a bit harder. It definitely does look a little more polished and refined, but this bell is hard to do with the other characters. With Cham, super easy. You go up 3 times in a row, ring that bell, just whip the shit out of it, and you'll open that door after making the bell ring a 3rd time.
Excellent.
Okay, so as I slide my way in, ignore this dialogue, I'm going to further climb up this tower, overtop some pretty wicked clouds, looking very Castlevania-esque, whipping some giant coins and some strange enemies.
You bitch. What the fuck are you talking about? Get out of here. Nonsense. There's health. Just don't like being ripped off. That's a proper hit.
I do want to take the time to give a big shout out to Kamui Plays for introducing me to the Valis series. It was him who I first seen play both Valis 1 and Valis 3 and Valis 3 for TurboGrafx 16 and got me interested in the series. I've only beaten the 1st and the 3rd, but I definitely want to play the TurboGrafx 16 version and look into what other games there also is from this series, because so far what I played, I've really enjoyed.
Turn around, bitch!
So I must confess, as you may watch and listen to my no death runs, you may hear me when playing kind of on the edge of my seat, focused, a little bit nervous, a little bit irritated, and sometimes often pretty angry and cursing and swearing. And you might think, well, why do I try these? Why do I do this? Because I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about the games. I enjoy giving my opinions and review on the games. And overall, it's just a fun little hobby to do. I'm not even all that good at it, which is why I try to remain humble and modest and say that some of them are hard when other people might find them easy. But for me, some of them are quite difficult, which might be easier for some. But for me, it's not necessarily about the no death run. Is it more about shedding light on a game that I enjoy and just want to talk about more? Now again, Cham, awesome for this boss fight. Got these Centurion-style gold soldiers, if you will, coming out with their swords, and if they get too close, they hit you with a heavy-duty shot. Maybe it's because I'm newer to the game, and I'm not very good with Yuko and the other girl, but I find their fire rate and speed in which they hit too slow to handle this situation. And with Cham, get the job done real easy, real quick, because she swings that whip super quick. So as the three ladies rise to the top of this tower, looking badass in all their glory, as Mr. Wizardman has his arms out open wide, and he says a bunch of stuff that I skip, that you can read by either pausing or playing it for yourself. I suggest playing it for yourself. Yuko, I am fearful that you will not be able to defeat Glams even with your Valis sword. And even if I release the sword to its full power, you and the sword must return. Yuko, are you prepared for this? Yuko, he asked you a question. I guess I'll take that as a yes. Now, actually, in this particular part, as I scale up out of screen, jumping faster than the screen can pan, there's no worries. Doing so will not result in any injury as you get to the top and get hit by that guy that you were trying to outrun in the first place. So, I guess the characters have all been upgraded. I know for sure Yuko has, as she went from her yellow to which is now available red armor, looking extra badass. Yuko is a good character to use on this particular level. But again, when you get to the boss, in my personal opinion, unless someone wants to show me otherwise, or if I want to take the time to look up and see how other people play and handle the bosses, for me, again, Cham's speed with the whip, and honestly, I think her strength of the whip also plays a huge factor as well. Now, I don't know if she's OP'd, and some die-hard Valis fans would be like, oh yeah, Cham's the way to go 100%. I'm not too sure. But again, her speed is definitely all the difference for me in defeating this boss soundly, confidently, every time.
Bullshit.
Now, very recently, I watched Kamui play Valis 3 on the TurboGrafx 16, and this part really is way different. In fact, what I saw on the TurboGrafx for me was a much more appealing and fitting level. I got nothing wrong with this level, but I do find this level a little bit out of place as it looks like a bit of a factory. Now in the TurboGrafx 16 version, you're in like a desert sand area, which I just think looks better. You still fight this same boss, and you face him in sinking quicksand, which probably makes him even harder as he's a pretty damn tough boss. The first time I played this game, I got my ass kicked by this boss. Granted, I was pretty tired and stoned and didn't put my best foot forward. The second time I faced him, I tried a lot harder and paid a lot more attention, and also discovered again that Cham's fire rate was the way to go. That meant I had to lose quite a bit with the other girls before I got comfortable with the girl to use. And that's when I just gained all the confidence in using her in general and just said, screw it, I'm sticking with the whip girl.
Turn around, bitch. Dunsky. Low on health.
Yeah, pretty low on health, but the ice stage. Oh, the ice stage. Okay, before I get into what makes these ice parts so damn hard, there are 3 levels here, or 3 sections. If you lose all 3 of your men, which are indicated by the P at the top of the screen there below the time, which time is never really a factor in this game, which is pretty sweet. You lose all 3 of them, and you go all the way back to where I just started in the ice level. It is long and grueling. It's not actually that long, but trust me, play it, lose a whole bunch more. It will feel like a very, very long part. Okay, so let's talk about the controls. Down and A is slide. You can jump extra high, just like in the first game, just like an Altered Beast, by holding up and the C button. So you can just jump with a regular jump, just like an Altered Beast, and pressing up and C, just like an Altered Beast, will result in a big high jump, which works with the exact same gaming mechanic. B is your attack. If you press up and B, or hold up and B, you'll use your magic, which is indicated by your mana bar at the top there below your health meter. I'm sitting very low on health right now, but I know that it's more about getting to the next health and not falling in the pits. So now that I've explained the controls, let's talk about the ice level. Oh man, is this ice slippery. You may notice that I'm jumping a whole lot, like a lot. What I discovered in the controls on the ice level for the Genesis version anyways, is that when you swing your weapon or run or walk on the ice, you will get pulled into a big fast slide. But if you jump straight up and land in any location, your character will remain stiff in the location it lands. So when I want to inch my way forward, I will not inch my way forward with running or walking at all. I'll inch my way forward with these little individual hops, because I know as I land, I'll land firmly. Now this spot here is a real pain in the ass. I literally will take the hit and take the damage to get my character at the front of this floating piece here, which isn't slippery, by the way, unlike the ground you're on. Because coming up, you must slide off of here and let it go past about a centimeter and then slide. It's a bitch. Play these ice levels, you'll lose your fucking mind. This part is really tough. And if I'm gonna get any cred or any respect on my name, it's for beating this ice section of Valis 3 in a no death run. That's for damn sure, because the rest of the game ain't that bad, but this part is brutal. I also learned to get these snowflakes to come out by jumping off the ledge and jumping back to the ledge. I only have to do it in 2 occasions. I tried there just to see if there was one, and there wasn't. Little tricks I learned on how to avoid any BS. Love the music in this level because I've heard it like a million times. You would think that might make me hate it, but I don't. I've just heard it so much that it's stuck in my head. I died a lot on this level, especially my first playthrough, and even my second one died quite a bit. And the thing was is that I didn't mind dying all that much because there was a lot to learn from it. And yeah, it's even a little bit harder on the TurboGrafx 16 as well, which is why I'm interested to play it. Right here is a good example of how I use those little individual hops to move myself to the ledge without sliding off. So these like frozen dudes. There's one guy right there. I don't even think I stop and talk to him. They say a bunch of stuff. I don't even know what they say. Next time I play this game, I'm actually going to read what those guys say. I've read what all the main characters say, but it's like those kind of NPCs. It's just like, all right, click, click, click. And the ones that I don't even have to talk to, I'll just literally run past. But now doing the commentary, I'm a bit curious as to what they say. This part's brutal. Oh man, this part's brutal too. You gotta time that perfect. Ugh. Just play this and feel my pain. Anyone who's played this ice stage will know my pain. This part's horrible. Horrible. That part a moment ago where I whipped the snowflake was actually extremely close. If I was like probably like a hundredth of a second slower, that snowflake would have hit me and knocked me straight into the pit. There's a couple of close calls going through here, and that would definitely be the closest. I kicked the shit out of this boss. Again, Cham all the way. The reach of that whip at full strength with the speed of it makes her unstoppable. Shame I couldn't use it for the end boss. Really wish I could have.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I just whipped the shit out of that boss. Usually he like flies up and does this big attack, but I don't know if I just caught him in like a rhythm and just did super good, but I prevented him from doing his other attacks. Oh well, I'll take it. Awesome music time, awesome red castle to climb as I quickly switch back to Cham because she's the best. The music in this level reminds me a lot of the end boss music in High Seas Havoc. Kind of wonder if some of those programmers worked on both games. Sometimes I wonder when I hear similarities in certain games with music. In fact, when I was watching Kamui Plays recently, the TurboGrafx 16 version, the music in that game reminded me a lot of Asterix in the Great Rescue. So I wonder if the people who worked on Valis 3 for TurboGrafx also worked on Asterix and the Great Rescue for the Sega Genesis. You just never know. Sometimes you hear sound bits that just sound identical, and there is a sound bite in this particular song, like a certain loop, if you will, or bar or chord that sounds just identical to the end boss music from High Seas Havoc. It's kind of uncanny, but this is a frustrating part. You got these really annoying eyeballs. I don't know, like the end part here is nowhere near as difficult as the ice level, but it's not easy either. A lot of areas to take a lot of easy cheap hits.
That wasn't bad. No dice? There we go. That's insanely fucking cheap. How that hit me is an unsolved mystery. Absolute unsolved mystery. literally Unsolved Mystery.
I better contact the narrator of Unsolved Mysteries, Raymond Burr, so he can do the commentary for this video as we try to figure out the unsolved mystery of how I got hit there. I guess I kind of want to talk about no death runs a little bit. I kind of want to continue to rag on the idea of sports games being in playlists of no death runs. Not talking about anyone in particular here, but like, come on. I think they should be fitted in some kind of playlist called Perfect Season, something along those lines, because again, I just, call me crazy, call me super literal, but when you can't die in a video game, I don't know how you can have a no death run of a game in which you can't actually die. Now, if we're talking Mutant League Hockey and Mutant League Football, games where your characters can actually die and you can actually lose a game because enough of your characters actually die and you have to forfeit the game, then okay, cool, I'm behind it. But I just don't think sports games really have a place in no death runs. I don't know. Call me a stickler, call me an asshole, call me a dickhead, just don't call me late for dinner. I don't know why I still use that cornball joke. But anyways, guys, again, for me, it's more about the review. It's more about the love of the game. It's more about the passion for gaming. Looking at them and dissecting them, or just appreciating them more than just about anything, because retro games just have a charm to them that is undeniable and simplistic in a lot of ways that makes them still a lot more fun to pick up and play than any modern game due to their length. And I think that's the most redeeming thing about retro games, is sometimes less is more when a game like this happens to only be about 30 to 35 minutes. Maybe 40, taking your time. 40, 50, taking your sweet time. And if it's a first time playthrough, it could take an hour or two, or even 3 or 4. But in the grand schemes of things, that's still very short. And that's just something I love about these games. Less is more. And that's going to be my closer for this one. So guys, thank you for watching my no death run of Valis as I grind through the last section here in the castle, and very, very shortly we'll be at the cool, badass looking end boss. Just want to mention that this end boss is awesome and the background looks magnificent. I do want to point out that even though I prefer playing as Cham with her whip, I love how the game forces you to use Yuko for the final fight, as she is the main character and the only one powerful enough to take on this fight. Just like that subtle touch. Despite Cham, I think, is the better character to use throughout the game though. Pro tip.
Let's go! Let's go! Wow. Let's do it. Valis 3 for the Sega Genesis, no death run. Fucking surprising myself with that one. Damn. Okay, so let's just watch this great ending. The on-screen prompt is there to read the end. Let's go. It's a long ending. Well, it's not super long, just with the credits. To get the final beat screen will take a couple more minutes for sure. Not bad. Just over a half hour. Couple close calls, a couple nervous moments. That ice level is very, very hard. It's just, the more I play games, the more I'm starting, like, there's a lot of things that cause a person to beat a game or beat a game with a no death. Practice and know-how are huge. play a game a couple of times, beat it 3, 4, 5 times in a row. In this case, for me, it's my fourth time beating it. Fourth time beating it. Not even, no, yeah, fourth time beating it. But the thing is that when you take the time to learn every little tough moment, if you will, when you take the time to learn every individual dangerous spot in a game and how to approach it with the proper usage of controls, the shit becomes pretty easy. Every game has its own controls. You gotta adapt to your own thing, but Valis is stiff, but it's good. Oh, I'm excited to get that one. That's number 30 of individual games. I wish there was a fast forward for this part just so I can get to the end screen, but the Valis series is heavy on dialogue. This one's actually not that heavy on dialogue. Actually, I think the first one has way more dialogue. But you gotta appreciate the cutscenes, you know? It shows that they're adding more than just the gameplay. You know, they're invested in the story. So that's pretty credible. And even to give some nice rolling credits. A lot of games do this. Sometimes you gotta sit through the credits to get that final end. Even in Quackshot, it's the same thing. shows him flying in the plane and all the credits roll, and it's still 2-3 minutes before you get to that final the end. Shinobi's is better, actually. I think Shinobi just says fuck it to the credits. Yeah, it does. No credits for that. Maybe that's a good thing. Who cares about credits? Not me. I'm just sitting here waiting to turn the pause button off. Are you guys still watching this No Death Run? Don't tell me you're just sitting here to get through to the end screen. We're almost there. Talent Japan Corporation Ltd. I think we're almost there. Pretty sweet game, guys. I'm still on the fence, Kamui. What I like better, Valis 1 or Valis 3, but I still think I like Valis 1 a bit better. But Valis 3 is pretty awesome. The end. Thank you for watching my No Death Run, guys. Valis 3 for the Sega Genesis.